So, we're going to visit with the Townswicks. So, welcome to Treasures of Worthington. Thanks for sitting down with us. I think what we'll do is I'll just talk. Why don't we start with you, Maynard? Where were you born? Tell us your background a little bit.
I was born in Madison, South Dakota. I was raised on a farm. My family farmed. I lived a mile and a half from a one-room schoolhouse where I went for my first 8 grades through grade school. And then I went to what used to be General Beadle College in Madison, is now Dakota State College. Well, they had a campus, high school, and grade school, and it was a teacher's college at that time, so we got all the student teachers. So I went to General Beadle High School, and I graduated from there. I was active in 4-H, FFA, and I ran track. And I showed calves and hogs for 4-H. And I was on a couple of livestock judging teams and did those things. Played a lot of baseball, Babe Ruth, VFW, American Legion ball. And our 4-H club had a fast pitch softball team, so I played on that too. And then I took accordion lessons when I was 7. I took those for 6 years. And I played for programs and that, played for dances with my dad and his group, and my brother. And then my brother and I played some dances and that. And then I went on to South Dakota State, an animal science major. And I was active in the 4-H club there and the Ag club, the Block and Bridle club, and the Jackrabbit club. I ran cross country and track for South Dakota State. And our cross country team went to 3 national championship tournaments in Wheaton, Illinois, and our team got, my sophomore year, we took 2nd place in the nation, and then the next year we were 3rd, and my senior year we were 5th. So I have my picture over here on the wall with a campanile and my 2nd place medals in it. And then when I graduated from college, nobody would hire me because I was going to figure I'd get drafted. So, a company in Albert Lee, Wilson and Company, said they had a job for me, but I should join the Guard. And when I got done, come see them. So, I went down to see, I took ROTC in college. I had to for 2 years. I took Air Force, so I went to South Dakota Air National Guard in Sioux Falls, and they said, we got an opening. You go to basic training for 6 weeks, and you go to navigational equipment repair school for 40 weeks in Biloxi, Mississippi. So that's what I did. And right after I joined the Guard, I got my draft notice, so I was happy that I joined the Guard.
Right.
Mississippi was an experience for me, an old farm boy, and it was during segregation. And so the first thing that happened when we came from basic training to Mississippi was about 4 in the morning. We got there on the buses and they put us in a big room, and we had a 2-hour lecture on segregation before we then we finally got to go have breakfast and get our bunks and that. So that was an experience.
Yeah, you've seen a lot of changes in your time. So Jeanene, tell me about your upbringing.
I was raised in Albert Lee, Minnesota, by 2 wonderful parents, and I have an older sister and I have one that's younger. The older one is 6.5 years older, the other one's 2 years younger. And music has always been a very big part of my life. And so I don't know, I wasn't involved in a lot of things. I was in Job's Daughters, which is just like the Masonic thing. And yeah, if I could go back and do it over again, I would be more involved. But I wasn't raised that way, and but I took a lot of piano lessons, and I loved it. So, yeah, I was in choir, I was in band. We traveled and did a lot of parades and that. But
So how did you two come to meet?
my dad had this dance band, and his accordion man got sick. And his boss said to my dad, well, I know the perfect guy for you. So then he introduced, somehow or other, did your boss tell you to go see Dad? Or
No, your dad called me.
Okay, my dad called him. Come over for an audition. Well, you can't believe this, but the whole time I was growing up, I thought, why can't I find the right guy? And he walked in the door, and that was it. I mean, Dad had said to me, can you stay here? Because he said, I don't know if he knows how to play a polka. And Dad played the saxophone, and he said, I want to make sure that he's got the right rhythms and everything. Well, he had the right rhythms. And I'll never forget it, because I was dreaming about it last night, and we went out for a date, and we'd been dating from February until like right at your birthday time. We started, right? February?
Yeah, about my birthday, yeah.
And we had dated and gone out to shows and movies and that, and I just knew that this was the guy, and I can't remember what he said to me, but he was leaving and walking out the door, and I said, just a minute. I went out and proposed to him.
You did?
I did. And his
How very forward thinking of you. What year was that?
We got married in 1965. We met in February and got married October 31st. But I said, what about Saturday? No, can't do Saturday, that's the 30th. And he said, my folks farm, and I got to be there to help him. And I said, okay, but I can do it the next day. Well, guess what? I didn't think about it being I did Halloween.
Right.
But we came out the next day. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And there was stuff all over our car, writing. Remember that? But yeah, I knew when I met him that like I was saying, that picture that I'm trying to find is of him having all these fish on this chain. And I said, well, you're holding that end. What do you want me to do with this? I want you to hold the other hand. So it's of he and I holding it, and we're still holding it.
It takes two, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. Yep, you're going to have good times, bad times, but you work through those times.
Well, the thing that happened is I was a low man on a totem pole for vacation.
Oh.
So the only thing I could have was 2 weeks in that October and the first week in November. So I told her, said, if we want to get married, we got to do it that weekend between my 2 weeks vacation. Otherwise, we'll have to wait till next year because I don't have any vacation again.
So I said, I'm not waiting.
So
he called me at my office. I was working at I can't even think of the name of the business right now, but anyway, I was working there. And do you need to talk to me right now about this? Yes, I do. Okay. So we decided, and that was it.
So, how did you get to work? Talk about once you got married. How did you get here? What happened after that?
We moved 9 times in the first 11 years.
Oh my goodness.
With promotions and changing jobs. And 3 times my boss would say, not the same boss, 3 different bosses said to me, could I have a minute with you? And I said, sure. And he said, okay, I've got something I want to talk to you about. I said, okay, I have something I want to talk to you about too. I'm leaving. You're leaving? I was going to promote you.
3 different times?
3 different times.
Oh my goodness.
I worked for 3M in New Ulm, and I absolutely loved it. But he was my priority. So it was. He went from Wilson and Company, and then they brought him into Albert Lee to do quality control. And they'd wake him up at 4. I mean, he'd have to wake up at 4 in the morning, and he is not an early bird. And he said, I can't do this anymore, because by the time that he had his tests run, they'd already shipped the meat. And he said, so what have I done?
Right.
So I'm going to let him continue with the story.
Well, so then
you take it from there.
I switched jobs then. I didn't have a job when I decided to quit, but Streeter Industries in Albert Lee had a big contract to build showcases for some big furniture store. So I got a job with them for the summer while I was job hunting, and I worked there, and then they had to get this contract done, so I was getting 10 hours a day and working for them. So I learned some carpenter skills and all that thing along the way then. So, well, then I got this job with the Farmers Home Administration through USDA. Well, then they said, Jeanene was in Albert Lee with the 2 girls, and they said, well, you can start your job in Pine City. You'll probably be there for a year. Well, I went to Pine City, no housing at all. Well, the contractor's building a spec house. He said, I'll finish this up and you can buy that. Okay, I said, that's fine. I was there 3 months, and the district director come in and he said, they're going to ship you to Olivia, Minnesota. And he was upset. But so then I went and told him, well, first I was going to have her sell the house in Albert Lee, and then I told her, no, better not sell it.
Beautiful house.
Well, then we got the place in Olivia. So I said, I'll go ahead and sell the house. So then we moved to Olivia. And that was the second time I lived in Olivia, because I worked there for Wilson Company as a livestock buyer.
Yeah.
Till I went into quality control and back in Albert Lee. Well, then the government sent me back to Olivia. So we spent 2 years there in a big old house. We didn't like it, the kids and that. So they had a lot, so I bought the lot and they built me a house. We lived in the house about a year, and they said, well, we're going to move you to Fergus Falls.
Oh my goodness.
So to Fergus Falls we went. And we lived there for 2 years, and then the opening was between Morris, Minnesota and Worthington, Minnesota. Okay. 2 offices. So I applied for Worthington because they said, well, it's 115 miles to Albert Lee and it's 115 miles to Madison, South Dakota. So we settled in Worthington in 1965. Well, I came here...
No, in 1976.
Or 70...
1976.
Yeah. I came here in September. There were no houses available in Worthington that time. This house was here, and there was a cap basement. I looked at the floor plan. I said, yeah, we like that. So Donovan Johnson said, well, he said, I'll build this one right now for you. So her and the kids lived in Fergus Falls.
Yep.
Okay,
well,
this was being built, huh?
At that time, there was 4 kids by then. So I come down here, and I lived in a motel for a month they paid for. Well, by that time, this thing was far enough along till I said, well, I'm not going to pay out of my pocket for a motel, but I put a cot underneath the basement stairwell. I had a plug-in down there and a mirror and my razor. And then I went out to my office for the bathroom and that, and Meg Lukes lived down the street here. She said, well, you can come down to our place a couple times a week to shower. And then evenings, I painted and stained this whole interior. I did all that with myself. And then I would go up to Fergus Falls on the weekend, and I'd take her little sample of carpet this big, and I'd say,
Do you think
like
you could
that?
make that work?
You like that color? And then ceramic tile, and then a piece of Formica. I said, now here, do you like these colors and that?
So you're building from far away.
Right, right.
Yes. And those are a lot of choices, too.
And at that time it was orange.
Oh, sure.
So how is orange is that gonna?
Well, we had an orange carpet.
Yes, we did, and it was pretty.
Yeah.
It was pretty.
That was the colors.
We bought, and I had different color tile for the bathroom and that. So then in October 18th, 76, we moved from Fergus Falls into this house. We've been here ever since. So
Let's talk about your family. You've got 4 children.
Yes.
Okay. Talk about your kids.
Oh goodness. I'll tell you what. We've started at 2. Maynard and I, and we're now at 23. Marla has a son, and she lives in Wilmer, and she's teaching. She's the head of the language department in Wilmer. Margot was working here, and Sanford let a number of people go, and she was one of them. But now she's got a deputy auditor's job at Murray County,
Okay.
and she loves it. I looked at her complexion, and it was just beautiful. You could tell she was happy. And Mark is up in Isanti, up by Cambridge, and he's a senior auditor. No, not senior auditor, senior accountant. Yeah. And Michelle is here and was working here at the courthouse. And now she has left that job, and she's working for
Des Moines Valley.
Public
Health.
Public Health,
Oh, okay.
as an administrator.
Okay.
Said they've all done very well, but during the years that we've followed them around, how do you?
Well, they were all active in sports and that. Mark played hockey and that. The girls were cheerleaders. And then when we got to our grandkids, we got 9 of them and 1 great-grandchild with a second one on the way.
Wow.
So we followed them in their sports, and we've been to about every sport they offered in school. Margot's boys played hockey. Our son played hockey.
Michaela played golf and
Hockey. And Olivia played basketball and
who was in
ran track and ran cross country.
Bailey.
Bailey ran track and played tennis.
So that keeps you busy doing all that. Yes.
And we didn't miss one.
And Kyle played basketball, and he was good, and he played it with Liz in Wilmer.
He set a
So
record.
we used to leave here at 4:30, be in Wilmer Hardee's at 7 o'clock, grab something to eat, be at the gym at 7:30, watch him play a game, be done at 9, and we'd be back home in bed by midnight. We did that sometimes twice a week.
Right. Yeah.
How many did Kyle?
Kyle, he's the last player in Wilmer to score over 1,000 points. So
Oh my goodness.
he had 1,280 some points.
And Olivia's
He played varsity starting in his freshman year.
Awesome.
We played the freshman game or 2. Well, we're going to put you on junior varsity. He played about 2 games, and I said, well, you're going to play varsity now. So that's how that went.
So when you weren't following your grandkids and kids, I know you're involved in a lot of other things. Talk about some of the things you're involved
Well,
in.
I've worked at Bedford for 28 and a half years. And when Maynard, after he retired, I'd come home and he'd be sitting in the chair, and I thought, this is not for him. I mean, he needs to be doing something. So then I retired and helped the American Lutheran Church type a book up. In the meantime, Pat Hendershite called and she said, can you type a paper for me, Jeannie? And I said, yeah, I'll come in and get it. She said, okay, let me know when you can get here. And I called her, and she said, well, you won't, no, she called me again, and she said, you won't believe this, but you can't type that paper for me unless you sign this paper. Okay, whatever the rules are, that's fine, I'll live by them. Well, I went in there and I signed it, and I became the business manager for the Meadows for 2 years.
Oh my goodness.
So goodbye, Maynard again.
But I was busy because we tore this all this kitchen, everything out, bathrooms all out, redid it all, so.
You had something to do.
I had more than enough to do.
I was a purchasing agent, and I did the inbound, outbound transportation. And I mean, my dad had been a purchasing agent, and I guess that's why I was so enthralled in that part. But it was a good company to work for, and Bob Ludlow treated us very well.
Talk about some of the hobbies that you both have.
Well, we played accordion. I played accordion, she played piano. We played for a lot of programs.
Yep.
A couple at the Memorial Auditorium, and for some anniversaries and different things, and intermission at the band shell. And then she played clarinet in the band.
Yep.
And I played accordion for nursing homes and that type of thing until COVID hit. And then after that, everything kind of dried up. And then I got sick with the COVID, and I haven't been able to hardly pick my accordion up anymore, so I haven't played it much anymore. My other hobbies is my car.
Yes, talk about your car.
Going to the car shows and that, and it's a 1953 Ford Crestline Victoria. It's Ford's 50th anniversary model. It was my aunt's car. Came down through the family, and I ended up with it because I'm the only one that wanted to spend any money on it, so I spent lots. And,
as one does when they're doing that kind of thing.
Yeah, my son helped me do a lot of it, and an awful lot of it. We had it all restored and that now. So then we go to car shows in the summertime and that. I used to hunt and fish. I got a nice boat, but too big. I can't get it in and out of the water by myself anymore, and I don't trust Jeanene with me on the dock anymore. Either one of us can fall in, so we don't do that. But we've traveled a lot.
Yeah.
We've been to Germany and
it's kind
Austria and that, Switzerland and that.
The city band went, and Michelle and I, yeah.
Okay.
And I think that was about like 97 or 99, something like that. And Michelle had graduated from high school, and she wanted to go, and she said, Mom, will you come with me? And I said, yes. Well, then when Kurt Pearson mentioned that they were going to be going, Maynard says, I'm going to go this time. And I said, okay. And he said, well, I'll miss you. And I said, I'm going with you.
Not getting rid of me that
No,
easy,
that's right.
So we did that. And then, that's about 12 years ago now, cousin of my dad's, she'd read something about our grandson playing basketball in the paper, and she wanted to know if Townswick, if that was a relative. And Jeanene asked her what they were doing in that. Well, she was going to tour Norway, Denmark, and Sweden with a choir group out of Las Vegas.
We're on the computer discussing this.
Oh, okay.
And Jeanene said something about, well, she said, I used to sing in Sweet Adelines.
In the Kiwanis
she
choir.
says, Jeanene said, maybe we ought to go with you or something. Just kidding, and
I said, I'm just kidding, Carolyn.
give me a couple, give me
20 minutes.
20 minutes. About 20 minutes later, she called and she said, you guys are going to Norway and Sweden and Denmark with us. So we went. Well, then we got family from over there and that, and we had connections. So after they did their 9-concert tour in the 3 countries, we stayed in Norway and went to the house from my great-grandmother and the other farm where my great-grandfather were born.
And what country was that in?
In Norway.
In Norway, okay.
Yeah.
Had a picnic in my great-grandmother's house up in the mountains.
How neat.
So we got to do that, and it was interesting. And then we've hit most of the national parks west of the Mississippi River, with the exception of a few down in the southwest, and I'm afraid to go down there now.
So what's your life like now? What kinds of things do you like to?
It's only
do?
Well, after the last child left, then Maynard came down with the COVID kind of shortly afterwards. So we have not really had much time, but I've got a very expensive Bernina sewing machine that if I can talk him into getting rid of some of this furniture in here, I don't know, but that's what my goal is, to work on that. And I've got 3 projects that I purchased that I thought they would be beautiful. Like one of them is a dining room table placemats.
Okay.
But you got all the material and all the needs, so all I have to do is have the time to.
Right.
Yeah.
On time. That's
Yeah.
it. Speaking of time, a lot of time passed in your marriage. You're 59 years you'll be married in next
Yes.
October. I only know that because I was born in the beginning of 1965. So I'll be 60.
Oh wow.
But talk about some of the changes in the world and things like that in your lifetime.
Well, a lot of changes. Worthington, I was involved in a lot of changes in Worthington. I've financed apartment houses, and I financed a lot of single-family houses and new construction out in the northeast part of town. My job, I was involved with the 9 guys that fundraised and built the Worthington Ice Arena.
Yes, and that was a big.
And then we managed it for about 6-7 years before we turned it over to the Hockey Association.
Okay, interesting.
And then I was on the church council, American Lutheran, when they built the new fellowship hall, and I got involved in that mess. We got that all built without too many hitches. And then I've been active in Kiwanis, and 5 of us went out and we've raised the money and designed and built the inclusive playground.
Park. Yes.
I know you were involved.
Got involved in that,
That's great.
and then last year we raised money and I was involved in getting the handicap fishing dock, which the city's supposed to put in this spring now. So, and then that's kind of covers a lot of the things that it went on, and then I was involved through the whole farm crisis. I had many farmers who got in trouble and saved a lot of them. I suffered through FDIC closing 7 different banks during that time. I fought my wars with them. And so that's kind of, then
So
I
we've
was
been busy.
involved with
Yes.
the Cycle Patrol, or as Shrine Cycle Patrol.
From out of Sioux Falls.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
I was active with them. I rode for 34 years. I was parade captain or co-captain for about 18 years. And I was either captain or co-captain of the drill team for 12 years, which we did motorcycle maneuvers and drill competition at Midwest Shrine Conventions. And then I was active in the Masons and the Royal Arch Masons and the Cryptic Council and Commandery and Knights Templar, and worked with Job's Daughters. And
Yep.
that kind of took care of most of my time. Our parades, some years we rode as high as 25 parades a summer at one
Oh
time.
my goodness, that's a lot.
Sometimes 3 in a day.
And you've got scholarships that.
And then now I work with the Masonic Lodge Scholarship Program.
Oh, great.
So last year we gave out 6 scholarships, and
Wonderful.
we're waiting for applications for this year. So that kind of takes care of my time.
I'll bet.
And I'm involved in PEO in 20th Century, and now the Prairie Winds Republican Women group.
Okay.
And I just feel like we have to do what we can.
Right. Be involved in
Yes.
your community.
Yep. We care about it. And like I see some people leaving and I just keep thinking, no, this is home.
lived here, what did you say, 47 years now?
Yeah. After moving so many times, we're happy to be.
You finally landed, right?
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
And we've got to thank the Lord for the beautiful family and friends we have.
If you were to give some advice about just anything, life in Worthington, life in general, your experiences, what would you say?
I guess I'd say that to open up and be more open with people, to communicate. We've got a tough time we're going through, and we care about each other, but a lot of times we just shake their hand and leave. We need to really talk. That's what, I mean, I feel so much better just opening up and sharing their thoughts and my thoughts, and yeah.
And I think a belief in God and
Oh, definitely.
taking care of one another. And you can discuss and get through your differences without blowing up. And, you know, you got to give and take. And that's kind of how you float through life with. And, you know, we've had our tragedies. My partner died of appendicitis attack. And I partner died from COVID.
And then you had to rush me by ambulance.
And then she likes to grow kidney stones, and so we have had numerous things there.
Well, I gave him up I found out that it was Coke that was doing it to me. It caused uric acid.
Coca-Cola, huh?
Yes. And so be careful for whoever is drinking Coke. It's not fun, but.
Well, thank you so much for sitting here and sharing
You're welcome.
your story
Thank you for
with us.
asking.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Maynard and Jeanene.
Thank you.
All right.